Hello friends, welcome everyone to your channel The Ears in Front. Okay friends, today is March 18th, 2026, and this is an update on the latest developments happening in the Middle East conflict. The conflict in the Middle East, as everyone knows, continues to escalate, and honestly, we don't know when it will end. The war continues, and apparently, according to the latest statements from several countries, including the Gulf nations, the war will continue for many more days. Over the past few hours, various events have occurred. As everyone knows, Israel, as a result of its most recent attacks, reportedly managed to eliminate, in this case, the Minister of National Security, the Secretary of the National Security Council, Iranian. In response to this and other attacks carried out by the United States-led coalition against Iran, Iran launched a retaliatory strike that has been truly brutal, apparently hitting multiple U.S. facilities in the Middle East as well as targets in Israel. Primarily in Israel, factories, warehouses, and notably the Ben Gurion International Airport have been attacked, with reports indicating that aircraft were hit in recent hours. As you can imagine, the conflict continues to escalate. Additionally, regarding Iran, the funeral is taking place not only for the deceased Minister of National Security, Mr. Iranian, but also for the crew of the frigate Dina, which was struck by U.S. attacks and sank off the coast of Sri Lanka, as you may recall, in those days when the images went viral worldwide. Remember that the ship was targeted while it was involved in a military ceremony, nothing more than that. Nonetheless, we have a lot of information to share with you, dear friends. As you know, we make these types of videos early in the morning. Remember to subscribe to our alternative channels, including the alternative YouTube channel Frente Milita 360. We ask this because, as has happened with other channels like ours that do not repeat the mainstream narrative, we are under heavy surveillance and could be censored again at any moment. So, we sincerely ask you to subscribe to our alternative channel Frente Milita 360. The link is in the description. Before starting, of course, I want to greet everyone listening from anywhere in the world, especially our subscribers. With that said, let's go to what is happening in Iran. Right now, large funerals are being held with massive crowds, particularly in relation to the funerals of the martyrs, as MER News reported, showing images of the coffins of Iranian heroes or martyrs, including Iranian and others. As we have mentioned, Iranian was the Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, reportedly killed as a result of U.S. and Israeli attacks. In the same or nearby attack, Major General Golan Resra Soleimani was also reportedly struck. It is important to note, while viewing the funeral images, that the remains of the fallen Iranian Marines are being honored. Here is the image of Iranian, alongside Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Iranian was a very important figure in Iran, the right-hand man of Ali Khamenei, a heavyweight as we have mentioned several times on our channel. What I always wonder is how a person of this level could be so careless, because reports indicate, and as we published on our Telegram channel, Iranian was killed in an attack while visiting his daughter's home. Of course, Israel and the U.S. know precisely where the homes of these Iranian leaders' families are. To me, this was a major mistake, a horrible error by Iranian security and by Iranian himself, may he rest in peace. It was a huge lapse in judgment. Such individuals should be in a bunker at this time. The same applies to Abbas Araki, who should also be secured in a bunker. This is not cowardice, it is caution. The country needs people like Iranian, Abbas Araki, and the Supreme Leader, Tavaba, Ali Khamenei, whose location is unknown but must be heavily protected as they are being actively targeted. This is not cowardice, they should not feel shame for protecting themselves. For example, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has been in hiding for a long time, only appearing occasionally before retreating to bunkers, and the same goes for generals. Courage should not override prudence, this is my view. Many will say it is an honor for Iranians to give their lives, and I understand, even though Iran has prepared successors for these figures, including Iranian and other fallen generals. Now, imagine that we are about to show that the head of intelligence has also reportedly been eliminated in the latest attacks. Please excuse this initial analysis, but I believe it is valid to present. So, well, the funeral images, they will also provide more pictures of the procession. This was yesterday, showing everything that is happening. I will focus on these images, truly important, but I repeat, one cannot afford to be complacent in the face of such brutal attacks carried out by the United States and Israel coalition. Now, I must say more because the attacks have continued, and in line with what I am saying, in the past few hours, Israel has published information that the Iranian intelligence minister, in this case, Ismail Kadhif, has also reportedly been killed as a result of the latest Israeli strikes. That is, the Israeli defense minister has confirmed that the Iranian intelligence minister, Ismail Kadhif, was eliminated in the latest attacks. In short, if they are taking out the intelligence minister, the national security minister, and potentially the supreme leader, then these individuals truly, regardless of the extensive infiltration in the Persian country, which is significant, must find ways to stay hidden. I say this sincerely. I am not suggesting that Iranian leaders should be cowardly, far from it. Look, as we have always said, the region of Iran that is primarily being targeted is this area here, yes, this entire zone. Therefore, these leaders cannot expose themselves in this way. Iran is a vast country, with many places ideal for remaining unseen while continuing to support its people. In any case, that is my perspective. Many may disagree with me, others may agree, but what is clear is that these attacks have caused real damage. However, the Iranian people will continue to defend themselves. Let us hope that Abbas Araki, the foreign minister and one of the country's key figures, continues to demonstrate, despite having given numerous interviews, that he has not been reached by these attacks. There are also images of bases in Iran being hit by the United States and Israel coalition strikes. Here we see one of the most important bases, an airbase reportedly nearly destroyed in the last hours due to these attacks. More images emerge from the coalition attacks on Iran's gas and oil facilities, which are being hit as a result of these strikes, though Iran also has means to defend itself. Every day, we receive numerous images of what is happening, as we have shown many times on our channel, and it must be said, Iran still maintains a significant response capability. Well, images and reports, as we have seen, show the destruction of the building Lilariani had visited to see his daughter. This is how the building looks now, as you can see. Mistakes like these, in a war such as the one between Israel, the United States, and Iran, are unforgivable, dear friends. Still, Iran can defend itself and has, of course, launched retaliatory strikes, including missiles like the Karankur 4 and the Seagull missile. Several of these missiles have been launched in recent hours against installations in the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, and, of course, Israel. Here are images of these missile launches, showing that Iran has promised a strong retaliation against Israel and the United States. Many images of these launches are arriving, and it is striking, dear friends, beyond all that has occurred and beyond the missile launches, how Iran still has such a strong capacity to continue striking targets in Israel and across the Middle East. Also notable is the resilience of the Iranian people, who, despite suffering major losses, remember, in June 2025, many top leaders in Iran were eliminated during this second wave of U.S. and Israeli aggression, including the supreme leader and now the secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, remained determined, showing remarkable courage, supporting the government despite very sad times across the nation. Here you can see these images. More images show the Karankur 4 missiles, which carry multiple submunitions capable of striking various points. Yesterday, Iran announced a new wave of attacks on targets primarily in Israel, which has been among the hardest hit, and also in Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, and other Gulf countries. In Israel, one of the most affected areas is Tel Aviv, where numerous strikes have been reported. We will show these images quickly, as these are the Karankur strikes we just mentioned. Here are some images of hits on Tel Aviv, including one of the major factories now completely ablaze, with visuals coming from different areas. Images are also reported from Halong, showing severe damage caused by these attacks. Before moving to Ben Gurion, more images are arriving, including submunitions from the Karankur missile, one landing quite close to central Tel Aviv. Additional images of Tel Aviv in recent hours, as well as Halom, all in Israel, demonstrate that Iran was able to respond brutally, as you can see. These images speak louder than 1,000 words, showing all types of destruction currently visible. New images show factories hit in Tel Aviv as a result of these strikes, which we present here on our channel. Important to note, there are also images of casualties in Israel, which we will not show, but there are visuals of missiles striking near these zones. Here we could see this image. Imagine, right, everything that is happening. It is reported that at Ben Gurion International Airport, primarily where U.S. Tanker planes are located. The runway where these aircraft are stationed was reportedly struck. That is, apparently, coalition tanker planes were hit at Ben Gurion International Airport. According to the statement, I repeat, according to the statement from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, both tanker and private aircraft at Ben Gurion International Airport were reportedly targeted. As the IRGC announced, in response to the assassination of Ali Lilariani, Iran attacked Israeli refueling tankers at Ben Gurion International Airport. Not only that, but later images also arrived showing private aircraft, which we also published on our Telegram channel, displaying damage and reportedly hit at Ben Gurion Airport, according to reports from various media and IRGC channels. This is the airport. Well, here is Ben Gurion International Airport, so these are the reports coming from there. Of course, the attacks continued, and we also received reports of strikes on facilities in Baghdad. My voice is a bit strained after several days of broadcasting. Over several days, we have been airing 3 videos daily, which is a considerable effort. Perhaps today will be a day to rest the voice. More images of attacks also arrived. Yesterday we showed how the U.S. CRAM system failed to intercept Iranian drones. Here, once again, we received images of strikes on the U.S. base in Erbil. Many images came in yesterday showing all these attacks. These are from the early hours today, including morning images of some drones and missiles being intercepted over the skies of Erbil, as you can see in these visuals, primarily showing interceptions over Erbil. From here, we move to other areas of the Middle East, where the situation is also very active, especially regarding Saudi Arabia, where Iranian drone attacks have been reported over Riyadh, the capital. Reports continue of U.S. preparations to strike the island of Kar. Here is the island, as you can see. As you know, more and more media outlets are reporting that the United States may be preparing a landing on Kar Island. Media sources suggest such an operation could occur in the coming days, although we consider it a very risky venture for the U.S. There are also reports from Bahrain, which seems to have the most updates. We have images of a naval support base in Bahrain, showing that it may have been hit in recent hours. These are images from the naval support activity, essentially a naval base providing support, reportedly struck in the last hours. Another area consistently targeted is the United Arab Emirates, one of the hardest hit in recent days. The oil terminals in Fujairah, Sakamkin, and Safed al-Quara continue to be struck. Images from the Fujairah oil terminal show ongoing fires. As you can see, Iran's retaliation remains brutal, striking multiple facilities across the Middle East. Important statements have also emerged, for example, from the Wall Street Journal, which reported that Gulf states want the U.S. to disable Iran's regime before ending the war. In an unexpected regional shift, Gulf leaders now insist that Iran must be incapacitated to prevent future attacks. That is, what the Gulf states are requesting is for the war to continue. This is why I want you to understand that the war will continue for a long time. Reuters also echoed this, reporting that Gulf Arab states were not seeking a war with Iran but now urge the U.S. to continue until the Iranian military threat to oil routes and regional economies is significantly reduced. Diplomats also note that President Trump is pressuring Gulf countries to publicly support the U.S. Israeli campaign to strengthen its legitimacy. After Iranian attacks on airports, ports, and energy facilities, as well as disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz, Gulf states view Iran as a direct and persistent threat. So, as you can see, these statements suggest that the Gulf countries intend to pressure the U.S. not to end the war, but to ensure it continues. Intercept also reports statements indicating that our children and grandchildren will pay for this. The war with Iran could cost the U.S. trillions of dollars. Our children and likely our grandchildren will have to bear this cost, said a U.S. official. The Trump administration is significantly underestimating the scale of the U.S.-Iran war, releasing fragmented estimates that give Americans a distorted view of the expenses. We discussed these costs 2 weeks ago on our program, summarizing the first 2 weeks of the conflict. The Pentagon claimed the U.S. spent around $11.3 billion in 1 week, while experts estimate the war costs $1 to $2 billion per day. Imagine $1 to $2 billion daily. If it were $2 billion per day, after 3 weeks, the total would nearly reach $50 billion. Imagine the enormous expenditure, and this figure could rise further soon. Democratic lawmakers believe the actual number is much higher. If the war lasts months instead of weeks, the costs would be astronomical, said analyst Gabe Murphy. According to various U.S. officials, a 5-week war could cost $175 billion. 8 weeks could bring the total to $250 billion. That is, 2 months of war could raise the cost to $250 billion. What do you think, dear friends? That is the situation, truly. With this information, we conclude our program for now. Later, we will have a video on the Ukrainian conflict, so remember, we will discuss Ukraine in more detail later. For now, we are ending this program. Remember to subscribe to our channel, Frente Brital 360, where we will post information, including updates on the costs of the war during the first 2 weeks. It is a very interesting program we made recently, including how oil prices will continue, as well as other fascinating programs on the war in Ukraine, such as Russia's famous Brainiano movement tactic for capturing cities. For now, we say goodbye, dear friends. Thank you very much for your attention. Don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to comment, subscribe to the Ears in Front so that notifications for our daily videos reach you, helping us also to combat censorship. Thank you for your attention, and may God bless you all. See you in the next program.